Hi guys, and welcome to another episode. We are back again. We are still dealing with creative thinking and problem solving. And today we're looking at the problem solving techniques. So we're talking brainstorming, nominal group technique, force field analysis, Delphi technique. Get ready for this. I'm the general and this is the masterclass. Okay, first off, let's start off by looking at our exam guideline. Again, I'll repeat, guys, the exam guideline is very important. It shows us what will be examined in the exam. So this is our guide when we are studying in terms of at the end of this topic, what should we know? What will be assessed in the exam? Number one, you must be able to apply the problem solving steps from given scenarios, identify or name the following problem solving techniques from given scenarios, which are Delphi technique, force field analysis, brainstorming, nominal group technique. Advise businesses on how they can apply the above stated problem solving techniques to solve complex business problems, and also analyze the impact, that's the positives and negatives of the above stated problem solving techniques. Let's look at these two. So in an exam situation, usually you may be asked from the scenarios to identify, or you may be asked to describe the process, the steps of applying brainstorming. So we're going to go through it in terms of individually, but in some instances, you are also asked to compare them. So I've grouped them two by two in terms of how they will be compared. Let's start with brainstorming versus nominal group technique. Number one, brainstorming is a group problem solving technique that involves the spontaneous contribution of ideas from all members of the group. What do we mean? Keyword here is spontaneous. So there is a group, one large group. Please note, one large group is meeting and they contribute their ideas randomly. They say them spontaneously. There is no order. It's not like you go first and then you after. Whenever you think of an idea, you can just spit it out and somebody is recording the different ideas that are being said. Let's look at nominal group technique. The nominal group technique is a variation of brainstorming where individuals come up with ideas on their own rather than as a group. What is the difference here? In nominal group technique, the large group that we had in brainstorming, this time it is divided into smaller groups of 5 to 6 people, and each group is going to do its own brainstorming there, but they are not going to do it the same way in brainstorming because this time each member of the group is given time to think about the problem, brainstorm silently, write their ideas on a paper. Only then are ideas going to be shared, and they are going to be shared one at a time in order. So each one will say their own idea. It is recorded, and at the end of the process, they will now vote anonymously to choose the best idea, and that best idea from the smaller group will be presented to the larger group. Let's look at the advantages of brainstorming. Number one, it stimulates creative thinking. There's something about spontaneity, guys. There's something about doing things randomly and off the cuff. It encourages creative thinking. You don't have to think much about what you are saying. You just say it. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. So you are free to think creatively. The creative juices are flowing because you are not scared of being wrong. People get ideas from others and build on them. Because we are in one large group, I get to hear what others are saying, and I have the opportunity to process what they said and build on it to build an even better idea. As opposed to when we are in smaller groups, other people are not privy to what the other group is discussing, so they couldn't possibly build on it. Employees are motivated as they can contribute to problem solving. So because this brainstorming is actually done by employees, you will see the other methods that we deal with may not necessarily involve employees, but brainstorming involves employees. So they feel like they are a part of the group, and that increases their motivation. Let's look at advantages of the nominal group technique. All group members participate. Why? Because now we are in a smaller group. No one is going to hide. If we are in a group, if we're in a big group, people can easily hide behind others. Others will not contribute because they are just waiting for the talkative ones to do all the talking. But in nominal group technique, you are exposed, Baba. You are in a small group and you have your turn to also say something. You know your turn is coming. So this forces all members of the group to participate. Votes are anonymous and more honest. So remember, I said that they are going to have to vote. The voting day is anonymous, meaning it is a secret ballot. No one knows who voted for who. So people can really be honest about what they think in their votes. All the members have an equal say in the final decision. Yes, they have an equal say because they are going to vote. So one man, one vote, and you have your own equal say in terms of what will become the final decision of the group. Let's look at disadvantages, starting with brainstorming. Number one, strong team member can dominate the process. Remember, in brainstorming, we said that it's one large group. And you know, in any group, we always have a talkative person who dominates the discussion. So this person will now lead the discourse and will not allow the more reserved members to also participate equally. Number two, shy members don't contribute. So we know we have different personalities, and where there is that dominant figure, some people will go back into their cocoon and they are shy and they are not going to participate. Number three, it is time consuming as too many contributions may delay decision making. You are dealing with a large group, you have to be fair, you have to accommodate everybody, and it goes without saying there's also going to be a lot of noise because everybody is speaking all at the same time, and this is going to take a long time for everybody to be satisfied that they have also contributed. Let's look at nominal group technique. Disadvantage number one, there might not be consensus. There might not be consensus because now there are all these little ideas that everybody came up with, and the vote could result in a stalemate. Then what? It was better in brainstorming when we were trying to listen to each other and build on each other's ideas, because that way we're already building some sort of consensus. But because of the different groups that we have here, there's some sort of individualism and it may result in a stalemate. The chosen solution is not always the best. Remember, it was votes. And these votes depend on many different things. People could be voting with different motivation. So the winning idea may not necessarily be the best, whereas in brainstorming, because we are all doing it together, there is some sort of consensus that pushes us to the best idea indirectly. Then lastly, it is time consuming as each member must make a presentation. So in brainstorming, each one was just giving their random ideas, but now in nominal group technique, individual members have had time to think about their proposal. They have invested their time. When they're going to make their presentations, they are likely to be long and detailed. And this is definitely going to take a lot of time. Let's look at the application. Sometimes in an exam, we are asked to actually explain the steps or to give the steps of how to apply these techniques. Let's start with brainstorming. Number one, define the problem clearly. So since we're in one large group, maybe it can be written on the board. This is the problem we're dealing with, guys. It must be explained clearly for everybody to understand before we start deliberating. Number two, set a time limit for each brainstorming session. For obvious reasons, if we don't set a time limit, this is going to take longer than expected and everything is going to go haywire. So what are we going to do? We set a time limit to ensure that we control the narrative. Number three, write ideas down where all participants can see it. So we are writing these ideas so that everybody can be able to see what is there so far, and then they can contribute on top of that. So there must be someone assigned with the job of noting the ideas down. Number four, do not judge or criticize the ideas. Here we want as many ideas as possible. That's why we're encouraging people to give us ideas randomly. So no criticism is allowed because that will restrict people from giving us their ideas on a whim. Let's go over to nominal group technique. What is the application? Encourage group to clearly define problems. That's number one. So each group is given the mandate to go into detail in terms of understanding the problem. Number two, divide group into smaller groups. So we had a discussion about the problem when we were one large group. We now further divide into several groups. Number three, each group member must silently brainstorm the problem. That is very important because these are the differences between brainstorming and nominal group technique. Here, brainstorming is happening silently and on a personal level, and you write your ideas down as you are doing it silently. Whereas in brainstorming, people are just shouting their ideas at random. Each member receives the opportunity to give a solution, which solves the problem of people that are shy that will not contribute. In this instance, each member, after they write their ideas down, they will be given an opportunity to present to the smaller group what their idea is. One person must write down the solutions. So that's similar to what we have in brainstorming. Somebody must be writing down all the solutions so that no ideas are lost. Hi guys, sorry to disturb your video. I'm just here to discuss with you 3 ways in which you can support the channel. Number 1 is to watch the ads. So guys, the ads that come before the video, during the video, and after the video are linked to this particular video that you are watching. If you don't skip the ads and you actually watch, we're going to be rewarded by the advertisers. Then number 2 is to invite me as a guest speaker to your event at your school, a school function, prize giving day, revision classes, and so on. I'll gladly come. Number 3, we've got the Masterclass Level Up program, which is designed for all those who want to write their exams in May and June of 2025. We are covering 3 subjects: accounting, business studies, and economics. All the information you need is in the description box below. Now let's get back to the video. Now we move on to the other 2, which is Delphi technique as well as force field analysis. Let's start by defining them. Delphi technique uses a panel of experts to find solutions to a problem. Experts do not have to be in the same place. So when we say Delphi technique, guys, the key word there, if you are given in a multiple choice or any lower order question, you must look for the word expert. Once you see the word expert, you know that the technique we're talking about is Delphi. Delphi is done when there is no previous examples to look at. So we have to now ask experts to come in and give us their expert opinions in terms of how to deal with the problem. Force field analysis, developed by Kate Lewin to facilitate change in an organization. Force field analysis is a technique that is based on the concept of a magnet. Every magnet has a force field around which it will attract or repel things. The same applies with an idea. Each idea has its own advantages and disadvantages, its pros and cons, and it is applied when the business is faced with a change to make a decision to do something or not to do it. Let's look at the advantages of the different techniques. Let's start with Delphi technique. Experts give anonymous suggestions. Why do they give anonymous suggestions? Remember, these experts are not in the same place, so there is no groupthink. They're not going to affect each other. They are contacted through questionnaires from wherever they are in the world, and they individually give their input anonymously sometimes if they do not wish to be known. Number 2, experts are more creative. There's a reason why they are experts, right? They have some expert knowledge, some specialized skills, some experience. So the kind of input they are going to give us is of a higher value. Experts can feed off each other's ideas. After they give us their ideas, there are going to be several rounds of feedback and communication between us and them, telling them what we got from the previous round. And with that information, they are now able to make a better decision looking at what we have gotten from other experts. Let's look at the advantages of force field analysis. More people feel included and understood. Why? Because in this case, we are not using experts, we are using our own employees to look at the pros and the cons, so they feel more included. Number 2, employees develop and grow with the business. So as we are dealing with our employees, taking them into confidence about where their business is going, they feel a part of the system and they are growing with the business. These are the people that will now be promoted into positions of authority because they know the ethos of the business, they have grown with it. Informed decisions can be made as all forces are critically evaluated. So here we are looking, you are going to see when we look at the steps. We are looking at the pros and the cons, and they are going to be critically evaluated until we arrive at a decision. So you can be sure the decision that will be made here is going to be very thorough. Let's look at the disadvantages, starting with the Delphi technique. Respondents might not reach consensus. These people that we are consulting may not reach consensus, and we may keep getting different ideas, and we are not better than when we started because we still don't know where to go. The process is time consuming and expensive. because you're dealing with experts and there's time schedules. So it's time consuming and there's a lot of admin work that you have to do. You have to dedicate someone to be doing this, and that can cost some money for the business. Not all experts are willing to complete questionnaires. That's another thing. Remember, they are experts, they are busy, and they may not even think what we're trying to do is important. So we may try to reach out, but we don't always get a positive response. But let's look at nominal group technique where we are using our own employees. What are the disadvantages? Number one, the process is time consuming because we are going to look at each and every advantage and each and every disadvantage. So it will definitely take time. Number two, it requires the participation of all the business units. For this to work, everybody has to be a part of it, because if some people are not a part of it, later on when they come, they are going to show us some obvious loopholes and there will be some resentment to whatever was decided, and this will cause a push and pull in the organization. So it requires the buy-in of all business units. The analysis is entirely dependent on the skills level of the working group. Remember, here we are using our own employees, not experts, and we are limited to the kind of skills that they have. We are not exposed to the skills of experts as in Delphi technique here. So we are using the skills of our employees, and as far as they are skilled is only as far as we can go. Let's look at the application of these techniques, starting with Delphi technique. Number one, invite a panel of experts to research complaints from customers. So first we have to bring a panel of experts. We choose who we want to work with. And it is important to note here that they do not have to be in the same room. The research can be done through correspondence from wherever they are in the world. Number two, design a questionnaire and distribute to experts. So we design our first questionnaire. We just put together some questions of what we want to know from them. We send it to them through correspondence. It could be email or whatever communication we decide to, and then they are going to respond to it and send it back to us. Number three, summarize the responses in a feedback report. So when we receive the responses from all our experts, we put them together, we come up with a report on what they have said, and we now take that feedback report, send it to the experts again, this time along with the second questionnaire for them to answer any further questions we still want to know. Then at the end of that, send the feedback report with second set of questions to experts. So this process is going to be repeated. It can go 5 times, 6 times until the business has received all the answers that they need. Let's look at the application of the nominal group technique. Number one, describe the current situation and the desired situation. So remember, this is about change, to move or not to move, to go or not to go. So let's understand the two options that are before us clearly. Let us define the current situation, where we currently stand, and let us also define the desired situation where we would like to be. Number two, list all the driving and restraining forces that will support or resist the change. So we are focused on a change here, and we are saying, what are the advantages? Those are the driving forces. What are the disadvantages? Those are the restricting forces, the pros and the cons. Then we are saying, let's look at all of them simply first by listing them. The next, allocate a score from 1 being weak to 5 being strong to each force. So even though we have listed them, we are not necessarily interested in the number of advantages versus number of disadvantages. We want to see the weight of the advantages versus the weight of the disadvantages. So how are we going to do that? We're going to assign a score to each particular advantage and each particular disadvantage from 1 to 5. Then we are going to add up the scores that we get from each advantage. We add them. We have a total for advantages. We have a total for disadvantages. So we may have had 2 advantages that were very strong, and we may have had 5 disadvantages that were very weak. That will not mean that we are going with the disadvantages simply because of their number. We're going to go with the advantages simply because they have a greater weight when we put their score together, a weight that is higher than that of the disadvantages. Choose the force with the highest score as the solution. So this is how the decision will be made based on the score and not on the number of advantages or disadvantages. With that said, I want to thank you for watching this episode. Thank you to those that have subscribed. If you have not yet subscribed, I kindly urge you to subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and help us to reach 10K subscribers by the 1st of May. Thank you. I'll see you next time. God bless you.